Good day, everybody. This is Michael Levitas from JurisQ.com, and I am here with Alla Kurolapnik, a divorce attorney with emphasis on using mediation in divorce proceedings. Alla, of course, you're part of our network to educate people, and we specifically selected you because you are so experienced and seasoned. You've seen the ins and outs of divorce, and let's pick your brain. From what you've seen in your career, what are the top mistakes that people make in divorce proceedings?
So I think one of the first things that I can say is, high net worth individuals not having a prenuptial agreement or having a prenuptial agreement that hasn't been properly drafted, one that's too prohibitive, which will likely not be enforced at the time of a divorce, or one that or where there's a situation where none exists, where now, one of the best things I always say about prenups is they're drafted and drawn at the time in your life where you're happy, when you're looking forward to the future, when you're hoping that this is a document that you're never going to look at or use in your future. So your mind is a lot more clear when you're making the decisions about how you want to act fair with your spouse. One of the best things about prenups is that you don't have to deal with all that anxiety or the emotional aspect of fighting over money at the time of a divorce. So one of the biggest mistakes I've seen is high net worth individuals or blended families not having a prenuptial agreement or having one that's too prohibitive, one that leaves the other spouse with nothing, which will likely not be enforced at the time of the divorce. Another mistake I've seen is, I can't tell you how many phone calls or referrals I've had where someone says, oh, this person wants a shark. They want a shark in court.
A shark. Okay.
So what you need, you don't need a shark in court. You need somebody who understands what they're doing in court, and you need somebody who's going to think out of the box to make or create a solution. The law in itself doesn't allow for shenanigans. So you don't need a shark in court. What you need is somebody who knows the law that can argue those points to a judge, if you're in litigation. So that's
words of wisdom, because what I've seen is sharks, they're sharks in trying to extend litigation and make money off litigation, make money off the backs of people who are going through divorce proceedings. So thank you so much for having the courage to point that out.
Right. And it also doesn't benefit anyone, because if you don't know, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not a seasoned matrimonial and family law attorney, then you don't know what you're sharking about. What are you yelling about? So you need to at least
in front of your clients and the court.
Right. So you at least need to be, my first thing is, I'll say I'm not a shark, but this is what I do for a living. This is all I do for a living. And this is all I've been doing for a living for 20 years. So I know the attorneys, I know the judges, I know kind of what to anticipate. You never know. That's why we have an appellate process, but I know what to anticipate. If there's an argument to be made, I know, how to articulate that argument. And if the law is on your side, then the law is on your side. If you've done something bad, or if you've done something wrong, or you're not supposed to do it, then the law is, that's what I always say. And it may not seem fair at the moment, but it all comes back around in the finality.
Meaning it's a process.
So that's one of the
trust the process. It's one way or another.
Right. Exactly.
It's gonna win itself to a conclusion.
Right. Which is what I find a lot of people lose sight of in a divorce proceedings, because they want a quick win. They want to go for the jugular. They want a shark, and they neglect to see the big picture, which is what, it's kind of almost like a poker game to an extent, that, and people lose sight of that. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is, engaging in the battle as opposed to looking at the war. So you can lose a battle, but ultimately, if you win the war, that's where it really counts. If you're doing litigation.
And by the way, since you are a mediation proponent, you don't treat it as a war. You treat it where it's a process where both parties get satisfied without being at each other's throats, and making it much
Absolutely.
less.
I mean, look, the idea is to reach the same end result, right? Which
Right.
is equitable distribution, custody worked out, access worked out,
Mhm.
a maintenance package, a
Yeah,
child support package. These are ultimately the things that we're going to either the two people can decide with the help of a mediator and some other professionals that we employ as part of the process,
right.
or a judge will make that decision. And if it's not the right decision, we have an appellate process.
Exactly.
So, and I think people have to understand that, and litigants have to understand that
Mhm.
the quick fix doesn't do it here. You want to be able to work these things out, because again, my feeling has always been, and I'll say it again, Michael, leaving the life choices to a stranger in a black robe
Yeah,
is not a fun thing to do.
absolutely.
You have no idea what kind of day this person sitting up on a bench has had
Mhm.
today or yesterday, or the morning that he or she has had.
Exactly. And
So
that
do
judge,
you
he's part of the
really
system.
want
He
to?
just wants to collect, really, they just want to collect their paycheck and move on. They don't care about really personally about your situation.
Well, they're not personally vested in it, but they certainly
Exactly.
have an obligation, and
Right.
they do what's right according to the law. There's a process. And for all of us attorneys, it's a very, we respect the law. That's why we're
Yes.
lawyers, right?
Exactly.
Or I
Yep.
think that's why we're lawyers
Yep.
anyway.
And I respect
You
you.
respect that process.
And I respect you because you have just shown us, I counted top 3 mistakes that people make in a divorce. I just want to recap them again. One is not having a prenup or having a prenup that's too prohibitive. Number 2 is using so-called sharks as attorneys in your divorce proceedings. And third, that is so smart, is not seeing the big picture, concentrating on winning the battle without realizing you have to win the whole process and make sure you are in the place, right state of mind, to move on to the next stage post divorce. Alla, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Very wise words. We're going to welcome you back again next month. Everybody, please stay tuned. You can find our phone number on the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions about divorce or using mediation in divorce, please feel free to call. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Alla.